All right, today we're diving into something really different. It's a vision for South Korea's future. But this is not your everyday economic plan or political playbook. No. What we're looking at here is something much deeper, a philosophical grand design, all built on a really unique idea about Korea's place in the world. So the whole thing kicks off with this quote: "You don't get hurt by strangers, you get hurt by the people you trust." Think about that for a second. The idea here is that the deepest hurts come from a lack of understanding. And what's fascinating is how the source takes this very personal, very human idea and just blows it up to a global scale. It's arguing that the entire world is kind of stuck in the state of misunderstanding, and that the key to unlocking it all lies in the relationship between Korea and, well, everyone else. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the core problem, this world of misunderstanding. Then, we'll see how that creates a unique purpose for Korea. From there, we'll get into the two big solutions proposed, and finally, what this all leads to, a brand new national image. All right, let's dive into part one. So, what's the root of the problem, according to this perspective? Well, it's not what you might think. It's not about military power or economic competition. Nope. It all comes down to an imbalance of knowledge, a huge, profound gap between what the world knows about Korea and what Korea knows about the world.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The argument goes like this. For a long, long time, Korea has been like a sponge, just absorbing, studying, and, well, consuming the culture, the knowledge, the ideas of the entire world. But, and this is the key, it's been a one-way street. The knowledge has only flowed in. The world, on the other hand, has never really done the same in reverse. It hasn't consumed what Korea has to offer.
This quote really just hits the nail on the head. And we're not just talking about K-pop or the latest hit TV show here. The source is pointing to a much deeper historical pattern. The idea is that Korean thought, its knowledge, its unique cultural DNA, none of it has really been absorbed into the global consciousness. And that leaves the world, kind of ignorant of what Korea is all about. And that creates a serious imbalance. Okay, so if that's the problem, this big knowledge imbalance, then what's the next step? Well, this is where we see how that unique position supposedly creates a really profound national mission, a huge responsibility even. And this leads us to what you could call the principle of knowing. The logic is actually super simple, but it's powerful. You just can't help someone or lead someone or solve their problems if you don't truly understand them, right? Real leadership, real service, it has to come from a place of genuine, deep knowledge. So here's the logical leap. If you accept the premise that Korea is the one nation that is truly consumed and therefore knows the rest of the world, then, following that principle of knowing, it's the only nation that is truly positioned to help solve humanity's big problems. I mean, that is a massive claim, right? It takes this historical imbalance and flips it into a global mission.
Which leads to the obvious question, right? If this incredible potential exists, how do you actually unlock it? How do you turn a big philosophical idea into a real, practical national strategy?
Well, the answer we get is surprisingly focused. It's a two-part prescription for the whole nation. We're not talking about some complicated 100-point plan. It's just two core tasks that are supposed to be the key to, well, everything. That's it, just two. The entire grand design, this whole vision, it all hinges on getting just two key projects right. The idea is that if these two things are done correctly, they'll set off a kind of chain reaction, a cascade, that ends up solving a ton of other problems automatically. So what are they? Here you go. Number one, a new welfare paradigm. That's the internal part. And number two, a humanitarian service project. That's the external part, aimed at the world. So let's unpack what these really mean. Okay, let's start with that first key. This one is all about looking inward. It's about a complete and total rethink of social welfare. And the source is super specific about who's supposed to lead this charge: the nation's women. So you might be asking, why women? Well, the thinking here is that women are naturally more sensitive to the aches and pains of society. This whole task is described as needing to be detailed, meticulous. The Korean word used is samsehage, which has this sense of doing something with a very delicate, careful, and precise touch. The analogy is great. It's like tidying up the house after a period of really fast, chaotic growth. Going back and checking all the corners, cleaning up the mess that was left behind in the rush to get ahead. All right, on to the second key. This one looks outward, to the rest of the world. This humanitarian service project is framed as the big job for the nation's elites. We're talking about the intellectuals, the major businesses, the leaders. Their mission? To get Korea ready to play its new role on the global stage. And a really big piece of this puzzle is about changing the entire mindset of the country's small and medium-sized businesses. The source says that right now, they're acting like 장사치, which is a word that kind of means merchants or peddlers, people who are just focused on making a quick buck. The goal is to transform them into sahakwa, which is more like scholars, people who see their work as a craft, who operate with a higher purpose, and who want to contribute to the good of humanity.
And just to be clear, this isn't about charity work. It's about fundamentally reorienting the entire business community. The idea is that by helping these businesses find their proper work, their true calling that goes beyond just making money, it will actually solve their economic problems and get them ready to make a real, meaningful contribution to the world. So, what's the payoff? What happens if these two massive projects actually get done? Well, this is the grand finale. It's not just about a better economy or a happier society. It's about something much, much bigger, the birth of a whole new national identity. And the claim here is, honestly, it's breathtaking. The source argues that if you get these two things done, the new welfare paradigm and the humanitarian service project, you don't just solve a few problems. No, it's presented as a silver bullet, a solution that will fix nearly every single major crisis the country is facing. The core idea is that all those other problems are just symptoms of a much deeper issue, a nation that just hasn't figured out its true purpose. I mean, just look at this list. It's incredible. We're talking about solving unemployment, the housing crisis, traffic jams, the fact that everyone is crammed into the big cities, environmental problems, and get this, the source even claims it will solve the issue of national unification. It's all connected, suggesting these are all just symptoms of a country that hasn't found its internal balance and its proper place in the world. And that right there, that's the end game. Once the house is tidied up on the inside and the mission is clear on the outside, a true national image, 민족의 상, 민족의 상, will finally come into focus. The world won't misunderstand Korea anymore because its identity, its purpose, will finally be clear, strong, and something to be respected. And one last thing, the source also claims this whole process will bring clarity on a much more personal level. It'll help establish what the proper roles are for men, women, fathers, and mothers. It really is a vision that tries to connect the grand geopolitical scale right down to the family and the individual. Which leaves us with this final thought. It's a wildly ambitious plan, isn't it? A philosophical vision that connects personal trust to global leadership and says you can solve almost all of a country's problems with just two big ideas. So, can a whole new national identity really be built on just two ideas? That is definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for watching.